So this is the 96Boards community panel. And the purpose here is to, we brought together a bunch of folks that either have been building mezzanine boards or maybe participating in planning to build mezzanine boards or building 96 boards, from people in the community, people in businesses, and kind of interested in why they got involved in 96 boards, what excites them about it, and then any questions from the audience. We'll take audience participation. But like I say, we're going to talk about mezzanines and some applications where people are excited about 96 boards, robotics, drones, things like that. So very free-form situation. If we get stuck, I'll try to throw some question out. But I expect that the panel will have lots to say, and I expect the audience will have lots of questions. So with that, I'd like to start at the far end. And everybody introduce themselves, who they are, who they work for, and what your interest in 96 boards in general is.
Okay, my name is Jackie Yang, co-founder of Ultramind. I'm actually based in Toronto, Canada. We are just joined this organization. Actually, we developed a 96 board based on the MediaTek X20, and we are fresh here, I guess. And we are like to learn more about the ecosystem.
Hi everyone, my name is Brian. I am from C Studio. So the board that is launched on Monday, the BLE Carbon, it is actually a co-working, the mutual effort between SID and the 96 boards. And besides, we also have a board called BLE Electrican. So I have brought some demos in the demo Friday lunch area. So if you guys have interest, just come to me. Yeah. I'm the BDM of IoT, by the way.
My name is Michael Welling. I'm with Cordy Embedded, which is just me. I'm a kind of an independent contractor, embedded troll or whatever. So I came to the 96 boards because I wanted to do some demo projects. I started my own company, so I needed something to show people that I could design things. So I threw together the RoboMezzi, which is a robotics mezzanine card for the 96 board CE spec. And, I wanted to do something new, so these guys didn't have a whole large community and had at it. And it was really a kind of a side project. Show off my design talents, but I guess it turned out to be something people were interested in, so I'm here.
Hi, my name is Haitao Zhang. I'm coming from the UC Robotics. We are a company that focuses on the open source software-powered gadgets like the robot and 3D printers. And we are here to represent Action Semis, and we are working together to build a bubblegum 96 board. And this is a very powerful a CE standard board. You can deploy it on the robot, on your 3D printer, and because it has a very powerful imagination, a GPU, so it's a very powerful mobile computing platform. And we hope that everybody will enjoy our demonstration of the Rapiro. We ported the 96 board to running the Google TensorFlow and running some deep learning algorithm to identify the object. So the demo sessions, and everybody is very welcome. Thank you.
My name is Mark Bolzern. I'm from Anchorage, Alaska. Founder of a little company called IE3. It stands for Intelligent Automation Alerts and Analytics. Basically, that was something we called it before it was called Internet of Things. This gateway that everybody's talking about, we call ours Edge Server, and we've been developing it for about 5 years now. We needed a product besides Raspberry Pis and Odroids and so forth that didn't keep changing form factor, so we had to re-engineer everything if a chip went out of style or something else happened. It would always be inconvenient that we couldn't get the part we needed just as we were having some big installation. And the 96 boards approach solves that issue. I can use the same peripherals, I can use the same case, I can use the same plugs, I can use the same power supplies. And so we can roll these edge servers out as we need them for infrastructure critical projects. Mostly at the moment what we've been doing is water treatment plants and heating and air conditioning. And in the United States, approximately 40% of the power in commercial buildings like the one you're in right now is wasted due to heating, fighting, cooling. And a few more sensors, a few more places, along with some better control over the airflow, can save a lot of energy. That pays for a lot of boards in a hurry. So that's kind of a quickie on what we're doing. Be happy to answer more questions.
My name is Gordon Kruberg. I'm the CEO of Gumsticks. We run an online design and order service called Geppetto. We support automated design of 96 board mezzanines, and that's it. That's what we do.
Indeed it is, but you also make some very nice small other boards too, and I was quite excited when you expanded your line without a whole lot of prompting. I mean, I found it after you had already finished a board that you had added 96 boards to the repertoire of Geppetto and had a quite interesting drone board available. And contrary, you guys didn't know it would be compatible across the entire family of 96 boards. You designed it for one board.
We designed it specifically for the Arrow Dragon board originally. In fact, you were talking earlier about how we got involved in 96 boards. Originally, it was at the behest of Arrow, where you know their support for the community. We thought it made a good development platform to fit with what we do with Geppetto, and then at your prompting, it pursued not just the 96 boards CE, but now the 96 boards EE and this week's IE. And in order to turbocharge a few things, we announced today that we will, in fact, we are manufacturing a product called Nodana, which is a 96 boards using the Intel Joule module. So it's an x86 quad-core processor on a 96 board, and also for the 96 board IE, or the Internet of Things edition, supporting the Intel Curie processor. They'll both be available for purchase within a month.
Yeah, from my point of view, it was kind of exciting when I discovered the Gumstick that they had the Aero Core 2 for the Dragon board. I called them up and said, did you do anything special? Is there any reason why you're not saying it's the entire 96 board family? Because it's a bigger audience if you're trying to sell something. And they hadn't realized that. They sent me one. I tested it across a few more boards, and it absolutely works as expected. And it is fine across the Dragon board, across Heike and other boards. It does what it's supposed to do. Now, I don't have a drone, so I didn't test every single function, but they assure me the test that it did successfully do means it'll work exactly as expected. So this is something, as the community manager, I've been trying to get this idea out to people that this cross-compatibility exists, and this was an ideal opportunity for me to stumble on. So thank you very much for that. I'm going to put Michael Welling on the spot for just a minute, because Michael was another big surprise. I had no idea that he was in 96 boards. And then we met at a trade show, and I'm standing there with 96 boards, and he shows up with his mezzanine card, which is quite impressive from the robotics side. So, Michael, what got you so excited that you went off and did that and then showed up at a show to show it off?
Well, I was looking for a new platform, something that didn't have a robotics card for it, and 96 boards didn't have it. So it's not a very exciting story, but I ended up at the show kind of on a different path, but I did bring the board to show the Linaro guys, because they kind of expressed interest in it, and I think there was a little bit of pushing from some of the people at Linaro to make it a product. That was never my initial intent. It was just a kind of a showcase or demo project. But since then, I've kind of committed to making it a product if I can get the money. I really don't know how I'm going to do that yet. The original protos were all hand soldered and assembled by myself. Actually got the printed circuit boards from Seed, which were really nice. They worked. And I went on a kind of a journey, you know. Surface mount is not easy. QFNs are especially difficult to hand solder. So I was kind of proud of them, you know. This is handcrafted by myself, so I had to go and show them off at the conferences. And when I met you guys, you guys were like, wow. And I still need to mainline the driver for the MPU 9250. I don't think it's really there. There's the 9150, and there's the 6000, but I don't think it's really there yet on the main line. I know that they demoed some stuff earlier in the week. Maybe it was Android. Android always has some new newfangled IMU support, which really isn't mainline. So, is it? So, did you just register as 9150 or 6000?
I think it's using the 6000 compatible
Okay.
string.
Okay. Yeah, I tried. I brought one with me actually to this conference, and I went and I ported my device tree changes to Linux Next because it's the newest, coolest, and my accelerometer wasn't working. So I was going to give it away at this conference, but I guess it's going to have to come home with me, and I'll do a little rework on it. Actually, I've given out quite a few of them, and I'm still waiting for some feedback. I really need to know if there's any problems with the board before I go into production. I'm more of an open design kind of guy. I like to get feedback. I like to get feedback as much as possible. Most hardware designs are kind of designed like behind the scenes. I'd rather just post the schematics, have people tear them apart. That's actually what happened. I put them out on Google+, which is kind of weird. But I got feedback from some of the coolest people, and it really helped. I mean, I found problems that they didn't really point out, but I found them because they had me looking at it from a different perspective. So it was really nice.
Fantastic.
So anything else? Like, I don't know what to say.
No, thank you. Is there any questions in the audience, or I'll keep trying to come up with some, but what's the audience think? Do you have any thoughts, questions? Okay, we have a quiet audience. Okay.
I want to ask, how many people actually use a 90 or have designed, how many of you have designed a 96 mezzanine card? How many of you have purchased a 96 boards? Yeah, one. 96 boards. Have you purchased a mezzanine card for it? Okay. So what are the two mezzanine cards, and what's the purpose?
Oh, is this a question for me?
Yes.
Oh, great. Oh, yeah. So I've actually.
Oh,
there you go. And for John?
yeah.
Yeah. So I've purchased two. I purchased the linker kit from Arrow, and then I also purchased the Seed kit. So I use those mainly for kind of breaking out the GPIOs and toggling actuators, sensors, and stuff like that. So stepping up the voltage and using the sensors that are available on Seed or Arrow.
Okay.
Yeah, so kind of just fun messing with the environment.
Mine are somewhat practical, so the serial mezzanine, of course, and then I've been working on the panel mezzanine that has been kind of in production, and that's something I'd like to see more of those sorts of mezzanines that have actual touch input and things plugged into them. So.
Come
I'd
to
like-
the demo session and design one.
I'd like to get my hands on an Arrow core too, though.
We have, I brought three. I should probably give one away or something like that.
Could do that.
We can structure a giveaway if you want.
Are you going to be doing a demo by chance?
I will be doing a demo of Geppetto, and we'll have a number of example boards that have been built with Geppetto. So
Okay.
you can see that, yes, it works. Yeah.
All right, any other questions from the audience, or I'm going to turn around and pose some questions to the panel myself?
I have something I'd like to say.
Please.
Back in dim history, when the IBM PC was released, that was not intentional by IBM what happened. They actually hired a bunch of Apple engineers and put them in Boulder. And what's that? Hard to hear? Yeah, this will work better. When IBM first released the PC, they did not do it on purpose. It was more a internal project bet between two managers kind of thing, and they ended up having Apple engineers to do it. That then took several years to launch a community where lots of things were being contributed, and the reason that was possible was because the PC was not, they didn't do things they could patent and copyright and protect. Okay, so it got duplicated, and then it had the open bus. You could do cards, and you had the BIOS specs, so you could do software, and the community just grew and grew and grew. And this is the beautiful part of this 96Boards community here, in that they've purposely done that very same thing. And now, just a short ways down the line, you've got the opportunity where you can do like Michael did and spec something out if you've got the skills to do it. You can draw on drawings of the boards that are already made that you just got to pull components onto using tools this fellow has available. You can pick cases that are out there for 3D printing. There's so much less you have to do. You can focus on implementing your idea. Then there's also a path to industrialization, to industrial production on it. So if you have an idea that's good enough to catch on, the pieces are in place to manufacture it in volume, potentially have companies looking to see what's being developed in the community who are interested in backing ideas that they think are going to work. This potentially speeds up the process that happened with the IBM PC. It can take the end-to-end compression, it can compress from end to end the ability from idea to long-term volume sales. And it gets all the brains working together. So each of you have something unique to bring to the party. And if you do your unique thing in the 96Boards arena, it may not be do a robotics or drone board like Michael did. It may not be any of the other things, but there's something about you that is unique. Bring it to the party, please.
Thank you. Question for the whole panel, just we'll start at the far end and come this way. As the community manager for 96Boards and as part of the team of the 96Boards team, what should we be doing to help further the 96Boards message and to help you as part of the community in building boards and mezzanines? How do we help enhance that? Are there steps we should be taking that we're not taking at the current time, in your opinion? And I'll start at the far end of the panel, please.
That's a very good question. First of all, I think from Archiminer side and the MediaTek, I have a friend coming and look at me right now. We were actually going to launching a pro version the end of this year. So it's where X20 was coming from mobile phone space. So it's actually, the current board already has a modem built inside. So at the end of this year, we'll probably be able to launch the Pro, which has a modem enabled. So this is kind of our community back to, I would say, be more open to the community and the support of the community. And this board will be available as commercial grade because it's coming from the mobile side. And it has been mass production with a lot of mobile phones. And on the other side, Archiminer will, working with the MediaTek together to open the, have a better open discussion because we are new here. So we needed to understand the ecosystem. At the same time, we want to get a feedback, what are the maker or end customer we're looking for. So, but in the other end, Archiminer and actually be very larger firm. Pretty much we've been in the mobile space for many years. So we have a good product support development experience. So I think this is a good attribution to the community when they come to go to production. So Ultramind actually has a very good experience on that. I think this is another contribution we can go to the community also. But the main contribution will coming from MediaTek. They've been actually be very active. They just donated like 50 boards. So I really thinking that MediaTek become most activity in our this engagement with 96 boards.
So I personally want to add one point. So for seed, actually, people are using our prototyping tools, but actually we have other services, for example, small-scale manufacturing, small production. So this is actually the whole supply chain. We want to help makers build their ideas into products. So 96 boards, so they work with us. Actually, this is a first BLE solution for 96 boards, I mean the carbon. So, but besides the product, we're really looking for a real, the real project that is built upon this board that will be happen in the future. So I think there will be a lot more effort putting into this area later on. But this is really some point we can contribute. We can focus on the production of the project coming from the 96 boards. Yes.
So I kind of forgot the question, but to make 96 boards better, I think, especially if you're targeting the maker community, you have to make it accessible. And it's not really there yet. Most makers are dealing with, 3.3 volts or whatever. And it's not easy to get the level translation down, as you guys know. And there's other pieces like enabling them. You have reference designs, but kind of a workflow for new developers would help. And making it kind of bolt in. Right now, you have to know a bit about hardware, kernel development, and kind of in-betweens to do what I did. But if I were a maker, I wouldn't imagine that you'd have all those skills. Some of them do, obviously. But I'm guessing there's usually hardware makers, and if you want to target hardware makers, you got to make it easier to plug in, and enable them to do the development. The template did a lot for that, but the template it's not mainline KiCad or whatever, and it also has a few quirks. I don't know if they have a tutorial on how to use the template, do they? The 96 boards template for printed circuit board design?
Don't know. Robert, do you know?
As in building a 96 boards or a mezzanine?
A mezzanine card.
So they have the specification. They have the template that I believe you used when you built your mezzanine. You used...
I actually started before the template.
Oh, okay. So
what I did is I went to Grant's design.
Yes.
And I grabbed the mounting holes and the placement of the connector, and then I went from there.
So to my knowledge, that's what exists.
Yeah, but if there were some maybe video tutorials or something like that to show people how to use the tools would be nice, and how to take something from the sensor mezzanine and incorporate it into a single design would be nice, something like that. Making sure that the level translation is rock solid is important, and I know that they still have problems with that because of the type of translators and stuff like that, and then making it configurable to different voltage levels is important, and not just kind of fixing it to a specific thing. And I think David brought that up, that the sensors card is nice and it has a lot of interfaces on it, but then they're kind of fixed, and you can't really change the level of the GPIO or level translation of the I2C or any of those. So you have to add extra circuitry outside of the board, and it gets kind of cumbersome.
So in the process of building, community involvement, these things should start to surface, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, hopefully, I mean, even with Geppetto, so tools are already coming out to make these things easier, right? So, I mean, hopefully, eventually, community members start adding more mezzanines. These templates become available for the masses, and then it can grow exponentially from there.
Yeah. But that's kind of the expectation, right? That's why you guys started the thing, right?
Yeah, we definitely have to start somewhere, so thank you, Michael. That's a good point. So if we move on down the panel. I'm very interested in what more we could be doing or should be doing, because obviously it's fairly new and we're trying hard, but I don't know if we're hitting all the high points. I do know, I didn't mention it, but there's several surveys out on single board computers, and right now the makers are 50% of the market buying single board computers, and 20% of the remaining marketplace is business applications, smaller companies building products. And that's a huge chunk of the market that's pretty fast return if we can hit it right, and I'm very interested in figuring out how to hit it right, and you guys are some of the folks that are already doing it, so I'm listening closely.
Okay, well, I think this already been closing the door, so we can talking something that's really serious, and maybe the dark side of the story. So first I want to bring is very important. I hope the technical steering committee of 96Board will keep their words. I mean, initially that we force every member that's joining the 96Board that they need to have some open source bootloader, and everybody needs to following the reference platform, and also they need open source debrick tools. I mean that as a bubblegum board, we 100% dedicated into this and did a lot of work. I hope that everybody in the following and do not change in the specs. I mean, we need to still very respect to the open source. I have to say that Bubblegum 96Board, we already started upstreaming. I mean, there's a community, like the people like Paul is helping on this. So we want the 96Board community to be user-friendly to the real open source, not just everybody using the proprietary stuff. And the second is, I hope that, that this is the big community, and I hope that every member will get the equally exposure, like promoting, and not just promoting the Dragon boards, or not just promoting I don't know, what is business-driven stuff, because this is truly a community. So, like that we have some board, we already ported the Ubuntu core into this. So there's really a lot of the community work. So we hope that this will be a very recognized by the community as well. And we are very appreciative that a lot of the people like Robert and Paul and everybody in the community really helping us a lot. And this is just my 2 cents. Thanks.
Thank you.
You've actually made it easy for us as well, to work together. So thank you for that.
I question the need for an NDA on the development of the specifications. That may be a manufacturer partner that you've got to work with requirement, but it means you don't get the community input early enough.
Which NDA are you referring to?
I was asked to sign an NDA to get specifications that have not yet been released.
On the IoT?
Actually on the networking board, but also for others. And I'm not saying you're wrong, I'm just saying question yourselves on that, okay?
Yeah, I do know that, for example, the IoT was under NDA until we announced it here at Connect. And the intent is that all the specs will be open, but until they're at least somewhat baked, they kind of keep them internal, work with the steering committee, work with the members, and then kick them open and take more input from people as we go. rightly or wrongly, it's above my pay grade, but I think at least they do bring them open. It's not like completely closed. There are other companies that I've been with where,
Yeah,
Well, I'm not trying to criticize, I'm just giving you input.
yeah, Mark, I mean, that's a good question. Maybe I could try to clarify a little bit. So there are, so mainly the NDA will prepare for potential member or partners to join 96 program. And in your case, and also the 96 board specification is maintained and reviewed and updated through 96 board steering committee. So that committee is actually have final say in terms of whether or not the spec is at the stage of publication. So it's not, so process is we have a draft, we have the draft specification, go through the steering committee, more than one round in all cases. The steering committee recommends whether it's suitable for publication at a certain stage, which is actually a separate issue to the NDA. NDA was mainly for the potential member and the partnership. Now, in your case, obviously, we know you very well. Yourself has been quite an established figure in the community. So we said, even though there's no previous discussion in terms of signing up as a membership, we will give you the NDA so you have the early access to the specification in terms of draft. I would say that you know, it's not general practice we would do such thing.
thank you, Yang. For those that don't know, that's Yang, the director of 96 Boards, so he's pretty accurate representation on what he's saying to us. So
Continuing, you've already heard the request for an Ethernet port. I'm going to add to that. I'd like to see a PCI Express or an M2. And by the way, there's no good adapter out there that breaks out M2 into its components. That would be a good thing to have as an add-on board for a vendor that wants to support you. That would give me a lot more range with regard to what I could connect and how I can configure that connection. It also creates a lot more room for people that like to do device drivers and things. It's to some degree the infrastructure that Linus was referring to this morning. You know, all the tools and pieces that people
you are saying asking for more space, but according to CE specification, there is extended version of board, like the one Arrow had at the stand, where you have space for Ethernet, SATA, whatever you need. And I don't know, and if you want, do you plan you want mezzanine with all those interfaces? Good luck.
Inside the CE specification, there is an extended version in which you can actually add the Ethernet and all these other components. So it does exist, and I'm pretty sure you'll start seeing more of those coming out.
That's excellent. Of course, the board builder has to choose a chipset that supports the things being asked for, and that's a complication too, because it takes a lot of years from the beginning of conceiving a chip to getting it out the door. And the mobile phone market moves the fastest, and the mobile phone doesn't need a PCI Express or an M2 or an Ethernet for the most part. But when I'm building something, USB sticks are too slow for memory, and flash wears out too quickly. So I've got a little bit of eMMC on the board, but how do I expand upon that? So those are some of the things that I would say are constructive input. On the very positive side, I want to wrap this up on a very positive thing. I think you guys are very open, very communicative. I think you listen. I think you deeply consider. I think you respond. I think you're serious about this mission you have, and I think it's the right mission.
Thank you.
There's one thing. If you want PCI Express, you also need to look at enterprise specification, where PCI slot is more or less, I don't know if it's mandatory or optional, but the problem is that it looks like no one is able to produce enterprise board. So.
There are issues with that I'm not going to go down the road of. We specifically did not choose the enterprise board.
Yeah, so I mean,
Thanks, Mark.
on the question of the enterprise boards, so Cello is really for production, but as we said, yes, we keep seeing for months, which unfortunately, so we are looking at the last issue. Unfortunately, it's actually PCI slots with the AMD. So we do hope that this is to be identified and resolved very soon. But everything else is really to push the button to go production.
Thank you.
I have one more suggestion that is something I think you're already working on, and that is do cross-referencing and connecting between the various vendors that join your infrastructure and the various makers that have projects, and make an effort to connect people that are doing interesting things that they
Absolutely
have in common.
trying to do that
Make,
with
make,
the
make that
website.
literally a linchpin of the community effort.
So we've got to wrap up, and I'd like to hear from Gordon, so we give him just a little bit of time, and then we're out of time. We started a bit late, I apologize for that, but with Linus and the pictures and everything, c'est la vie. So Gordon, if you want to address the question and...
Yeah, first off, I'd go down a different path from everyone else. I think that technically what you've got is sufficient. The group of people that are going to be the most constructive to the community are makers. When a maker wants to build something right now, we know that 10 million of them have chosen the Raspberry Pi, which is more or less half the price. Understanding the value proposition to somebody who's inclined to spend $35 and do a lot of work on their own, the value proposition to them to choose a 96 boards is really critical. And if you can put it, present to them exactly why it is, succinctly why it is that the 96 boards offers them a better path to, and then fill in the blank. Speaking to what we try to do, we recognize that there are a lot of makers out there who are not going to spend more than $35. We can't help them. We care about the makers who see the value proposition in our community, see the value proposition not for doing a prototype, but doing a prototype on the way to production. What I will call professional makers or serious makers. Serious is not adequate. Professional makers, people who want to take a product and go to production. The comment that Michael made about the gap that he sees, or people describe this gap between someone who has finished a product in breadboard mode on a Raspberry Pi or on a 96 boards and getting that product to production. That's what we try to address with Geppetto, and whether or not succeeds is up to what the market's going to choose. But we see that as a really critical jump that makers, whether or not they're, again, professional makers. I include commercial hardware developers that are working for NXP and Intel and all the large companies as makers, because at the core they really are innovators and inventors who want to get a new product to market. What they really understand is the vertical market application that they're trying to develop for. They understand the application. The reason this is happening at a Linaro Connect is that they understand the kernel. The reason that Linus Torvalds was interesting is they all understand the kernel. They understand code. They understand the application layer. They understand how to do a 3D case and go, there's the industrial design of the product. There's the user experience at the application layer. The challenge is to go from the breadboard that they know how to do and get it into production. And what's inside the case doesn't matter as much as the case and the application that runs on it. And the makers that we see really understand the application layer and what it's got to look like. making the case that presenting the value proposition for why Dragon boards is, why 96 boards is the best path to production for that group of makers will crystallize the value that you've got. And I think that will grow your community the most.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. So I want to thank the panel for being willing to come up here in front and speak with us. You guys put some effort into it, and I really appreciate it. So I'd like to hear a round of applause for our panel.